as always.
Just kidding.
Welcome, listeners. I am so thrilled to have Sheila and Keith Hittner with me here today. I had the pleasure of getting to know them on two of their radio shows, Talk Chalk and Our Healthy Home. And I feel like what you do is in line with what I do, even though it's different. And as I got to know you better, I felt that even more. But I also learned, and I don't know a lot about it, that you've both been divorced. And, my listeners know this podcast is here to help them feel hope and less afraid of divorce. So I think you have a very hopeful story because look at the two of you. How long have you been married?
22
2
years.
years.
Yeah, 20, coming up on 23.
Married 22 and been together 30.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
It,
yeah.
and just for the listeners, it's challenging to step into children. So I
Yeah.
was married before and didn't have any children. We had planned to have children, and then he made the decision that it just wasn't going to be in our world. And so I always wanted kids and lived through the everyday of seeing a stroller and a commercial and crying that I wasn't going to have any kids. And
Hmm.
and so, I'll call your mom, right? What do? You call your mom and say, and she's like, it's just a phase, honey. It's just a phase. And then, one day my car broke down and I broke down. And I was like, that's it. I can't do this. Like, I need kids in my life. And lo and behold, not the way I thought, but I found Keith, who stumbled across. God put us together. And lo and behold, his 5 kids. There we are. So at age 30, I went into a relationship with me having no children, birthing no children, to his 5 and a dog. And I was really never a dog lover.
Oh, you're
And
kidding.
and there was the 5 that I was to be in a position to finish raising and support and be there for them. And it was a little hectic, as you can imagine. But Keith made the relationship worth it. And he came home one day with a puppy. And I thought, you have got to be kidding me. I've got your 5 kids, a dog. I'm trying to manage this. I'm trying to figure this out. And he brings me this puppy. And he said, you are doing so well with the kids, but I don't know how to teach bonding. Bond with this dog. And I thought, you son of a gun, right? I thought, I got to train this thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's just more work. Like, I mean, I am like, going deeper and deeper, right? Sinking with all of the stuff. Not to mention, the stress of the ex, because that's a piece of it. And that dog was Condo. He was my first dog. And I always tell people this just to put things into perspective. So I loved that dog. I loved the family dog. I loved my dog. My dog was the baby that I never had. Right. So it was such an awareness when the kids would be gone for the night. I loved that dog in front of them, but when they were gone, that family dog was there, but my dog was like everything to me then. Like, I put that dog aside to only give all the attention to my dog. So I thought, how do blended families even do this? Because I didn't bring any kids into this relationship.
Okay, well, already you're giving me way more than I ever expected. There's so much here.
So there'll be a part 2, maybe, because we won't be able to get through everything.
Well, and this is the thing. Like, I love your story is kind of how you had this in your heart and God brought it to you a different way. It's
Yes.
different, like doing divorce different. It's
Right.
different than what you expected, but it's absolutely everything you ever wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, and so when I came to your radio show, I got to hold Brisket. She was
Yes.
giving me therapy, calming
Yep.
me down. I loved her. But I want to know more about this dog and the lesson that you learned when you kind of set the family dog aside and were giving all the love to your dog.
She learned bonding.
I did learn bonding. Not only did I learn bonding, and not only did we learn that, we learned how quickly it could be taken away.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, she was. We were on a listing appointment actually one night, and we get a phone call. We always, when we go into a listing appointment, we turn our phones off so that we can focus on the people that we're meeting with, and not be distracted. And we came out of the listing appointment, and we had like 10 messages on the phone. And her mother, who was living with us at the time, was mad, trying to get a hold of us. And it turned out that the dog, Condo was his name, had gotten out the back door and was struck by a car. And so, we had to race down to the animal hospital in Apple Valley and got there just in time to see him die and be with him when the dog died. So, that was a hard lesson to learn about bonding, and how when it's taken away, it really drove the point home. So, very difficult.
And I'm watching you deal with tears, and I'm feeling your pain, and I could go there. I have numerous dogs. I have a story about a horse, Charlie, beautiful white male horse who died in my arms. And the things that he taught me, it wasn't about bonding, it was about trusting and trusting people and what you need, how there's a give from both sides. So I am so in line, and I'm so sorry that you went through that, but what a gift.
What a gift. He was 5, and it was Keith, and just the forgiveness piece, right? Of forgiving my mom for for
Yes.
being the one, right?
Yes.
But I always tell people God did such an amazing thing when he made dogs. And I always say that he messed it up because he doesn't give us 30 years with them,
Right.
But then I think and go, okay, well, he really did the right thing, because it's the lessons we learn, and it's just a part of life that we learn from that time that we're given them.
Right. Tell me, okay, so you learned how to bond. Tell me, can you tell me more about that? So what did it exactly teach you about that? When you're talking about bringing in kids, stepchildren.
It was when with me it was like this dog is mine. Okay, like this dog is mine.
Yeah.
I have their dog, but this dog is mine. I needed to learn how to not really think of them as his, but think of them as ours,
Mhm.
and wrap that around. Now Keith and I, we never argued. We just never did. The only hard spot for us was discipline, because I am a something's wrong, you fix it type of a person, and I did something wrong and I got disciplined for it. And so it was a hard road to manage, because on his side of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, honey, is that the disciplining, if we disciplined too hard, were they going to then leave and then go to biological moms?
Mhm.
Because we didn't want that to happen at all.
Did you have 50-50 custody of your kids?
Well, my divorce was World War III, so I mean, it went
I
on
kind of
for.
want to hear, Keith, would you mind
Yeah.
telling me? I don't know how much you want to dig in, and I
Well,
respect
It's
wherever
pretty
you
simple. I
want.
mean, we were married 19 years. Drank a lot. It was very tumultuous all of the time. Lots of fights and arguments in the house, and it was miserable. It was miserable. And so when we got divorced, it just continued on. The war continued, and it just got to be, just a horrible situation. I think that that
But
the loyalty thing with the dog, I think that is the torn loyalties that you see with kids, because they are now they all
Yes.
lived with us, and so now we've got these kids living with us. They're in a household now where there is no fighting, and they have this loyalty towards their mother still.
Yep.
And it creates tension in the house, because in them they don't know how to act either. And I think that's what attracted me so much to you and to your program of doing divorce differently, because during that time, after a very short period of time, I was just like, well, just tell me what you want, because the truth is I don't care. Whatever you want, I'll give it to you, just because I wanted just to move on and be done with it. And she didn't. She wouldn't even tell me what she wanted, because she wanted to continue to inflict pain and disruption into the household, um,
and into both of us.
and into both of us.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
So
hard.
with your approach, as I see it, and this is I mean, I tend to be a pretty bottom line. And this is how, I'm a divorce real estate specialist. So we go into households all the time that are in the middle of a divorce.
Right.
And because I've been through the war, I can relate to people about what I know what they're feeling. Either they show it or if
Yeah.
they don't show it, they're all feeling it.
Hmm.
Um, but the fact of the matter is we've acknowledged that this situation that we're in right now just isn't working. And it's best that we just separate and go our own separate ways. And the truth of the matter is at one point I loved you and you loved me. And all of that love is not completely gone. I want you to be happy in your new life. I want to be happy in my new life. If there are children involved, we want them to be well cared for and taken care of. When they come to my house, I want them to have a space they can call their own and stay in their space. And when they go to your house, I want the same for them there. I want them to have their rooms and a place to go. So let's just agree on now, how are we going to do that, and how can we do that? And it seems like the emotion gets involved in it. And although people, when you get them, and I find this, that when I'm talking to one or the other alone, they agree with that. They say, "Yep, that's it."
Yes.
But when they get together, suddenly it's the battle, the swords are drawn, and the battle begins again.
Yeah. And Keith, so, I mean, I love mediation. It's all that I do. And I do believe, I would say 80 to 90% of the time it works.
Hmm.
In your situation, when you have addiction or maybe mental illness or a narcissist
Hmm.
or abuse, those are times when it maybe wouldn't work. So I don't know the whole story of you. I've found very dysfunctional people that are dedicated to working together and it still works for them. So I don't know if it could have worked for you, but I do know that it can work for a lot of people and it's so much of a better way to do it. So tell me, as you look back, do you think it would have been an option for you or no?
Well, we went through mediation as required by the state,
Right.
after, but was after already the artillery had been firing for about 18 months.
Yeah.
So it was a little late then. I don't believe that it was an option for us, just because the tension was so high, and I just don't think that there was no reason there. The emotions were way
Right.
out of control.
I think maybe it could have had both parties been on the same page with not drinking. So Keith wasn't drinking, she was. So that gives me, I mean, I think
It
back
does
and that
factor into it.
that factors into it. So I'm going
Yeah,
to
for
say
sure.
no. I don't think that would have worked had they both been not drinking. I think maybe. Now this was also how many years
Right.
ago, which I think that has something to do with it too, because I think people now are just so sick and tired of paying so much to attorneys
Yes.
to get it done, and it's more common. And I just they're looking at the kids more. So I think nowadays it's just more accepted or more accessible. There's more people that do what you do,
I hope
that
so, Sheila,
that it
because
is.
I think that when, like, if she could have known this story, that it could be different, maybe.
Maybe.
But I still feel like a lot of people don't know about it. And that is, I just want everyone to know that there is an option, that you don't have to fight it out in court. Even trying to uh, teach attorneys this way. And it's hard because sometimes I'll say, hey, go get a little advice from this attorney, and they'll want to throw in a big fight.
Absolutely.
And that's not what it's about. It's about working together. But Keith, I kind of want to talk a little bit more. Well, and Sheila too. So your kids, most of the families I work with, the parents have them 50-50. That doesn't sound like that happened in your scenario.
Well, it was 50-50 actually. It was just
In the beginning.
the kids were living with us
Well, we had them
virtually
for a
100%,
year.
100% of the time. They had the option of going to visit and have time with her for about a year and a half. They just chose not to, just because there were such hard feelings about the whole situation. So it wasn't that they were prohibited from visiting; they all just chose not to.
But I can imagine that would have been scary to send them there if it wasn't a healthy environment.
Well, when they did go there, when they came back, it was about 4 days of reprogramming to get them back on track, because they would come back and they would be damaged. I mean, it was, you could tell that they had been in an environment where there was belittling and name calling and stuff
Yeah.
like that, mostly towards me. What a sob your dad is, and
Well, and
blah
you're
blah blah
half
blah blah.
them, so they feel
Yeah,
that pain,
right, right.
Yeah,
And
and
I think that
then my
people need to understand that, even though they're, especially when there's kids involved.
hmm
When there's no kids involved, it doesn't matter. But when there's kids involved, that relationship never ends. They're
right.
they're you're
Yeah.
you are together whether you're married or not forever, because there are holidays,
hmm
there's Christmas, there's birthdays, there's weddings, there's
Yes.
graduations, there's all of that stuff that you are going to be together and participate in together. And one day you're going to show up with a new wife or a new husband, and that's just the way it is. And now
Right.
the family unit has gotten bigger, and it might be a little bit awkward or a little bit different, but I think today it's not so different. And if you look at the
Right.
statistics, it's pretty uh, normalized that there's going to be one spouse or the other that shows up with someone other than the birth spouse.
Right. And you're hitting on something that I've learned, that kids do so much better. And in your situation, it couldn't be this way. But when they do have both parents together, working together and adding in family, even though it's weird and uncomfortable, the kids that seem to do the best are the ones whose whole families can get together and do things. But Keith, that's not always, and Sheila, as you know, you can't always do that. So
Right.
you went through something really hard and it still turned out okay.
Yep.
You've got beautiful children. I just was going to ask you, how old were they when you went through the divorce?
Well, the youngest one was in grade school,
7,
so he is probably 6 or 7 years old. We have five kids, and the oldest
15,
one was
15.
15,
hmm
15 years old. So we had a couple years left of high school with the olders, and then off to college they started to go. But the younger one was around for a long time, and he got bounced around quite a bit. So he was,
It's
he
hard.
stayed with her for a year or two, and then he was with us for a year or two, because it wasn't good over there, and he had the most trouble. Was
hmm
the youngest one.
hmm
Okay, and so what I've heard is that that younger one probably bonded really quick with Sheila. Am I right or wrong? That's what they say.
Mm,
They say the younger they are, the easier it is for them to bond.
the younger two, the youngest, the second youngest, if you will, uh, really did. Uh, and I think it was hard for that youngest one because of the so much back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because he was really the only one that went back and forth a lot. The others didn't go there much. So the second youngest was probably the most that I had the bonding with.
I think that
Okay.
kids, if they, especially when there's a new spouse or a new girlfriend or boyfriend that come in into the family unit, um, and the kids, if they like that person and bond with them and connect with them, they feel a sense of betrayal and guilt
Mm-hmm.
towards
Yes.
their parent, their mother, their
Mm-hmm.
father, whoever it may be,
And
and
that
that
shows up at different times of their life.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Because
Well,
it has.
yep. And so, how did you handle that? Just talking about it?
Well, all of the kids, we were in counseling. I mean, we
Yeah.
believe that you need to talk to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and it needs to be someone other than me or
Mm-hmm.
other than Sheila. So, they were in counseling and went through that to try to help coach them through. But as Sheila said, you get through that and you think, okay, good, we did that. We're on our way. Everybody's cool. And then all of a sudden you go through a puberty or something
Hmm.
like that, and the whole thing starts all over again. And suddenly, like all families, I guess, when the daughter hits 13 years old, it's just like
The Exorcist head
the
spins.
Exorcist head starts spinning.
That's what I always say. The Exorcist head
My
spins.
husband
Uh,
always reminds me of how I
yeah,
told him. And I don't even remember this when our oldest turned that age. I'm
Yeah.
like, don't try to figure it out. Just
No.
yeah,
don't,
right.
don't.
Yeah, and there were some challenges, right? Obviously with me coming in and the five kids and whatnot. And there's a few things stick in my head. Like one of the things was a counselor that said, Sheila, it's not you. You need to keep in mind that it's not you, it's the position you're in,
Yes.
that they would do whatever they're going to do and however they're going to act to the person because of that position. So that was, if anybody needs to hear that out there, that was like
Yeah.
some of the big and saving grace, right? And then there were a couple of times I probably said a few things I probably shouldn't have said to Keith,
Hmm.
but not many. And I would just take the dog and I would walk the neighborhood and I would be yelling at the dog. I would be talking to the dog. I would be venting at the dog. And I'm sure the neighbors thought, who is this lady talking to? Why is she yelling at her dog? But if it's a tough situation, remove yourself and get your stress and your anger out. It's just because you're
Well,
going to regret saying something
yep.
to that spouse, to those children that you are not going to be able to take back.
Well, and Sheila, what I want you to know too is I always tell people be kind to yourself,
Yeah.
Hmm.
have empathy,
Mhm.
don't beat yourself up too much because you are going to slip up. We are
Mhm.
human,
Yep.
flawed
Yep.
beings, and it's okay, you know.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
that you went through something really hard, and I think
Mhm.
most things that are worth it are hard.
Yes.
But the position that both of you were in with all those kids could not have been easy. I didn't even know the depth of what you went through until just now today. And what I think is so interesting is you're devoted to kind of helping people who are going through divorces with your real
Mhm.
estate.
And
And
it
then
really helps with both of us because both of us having our license and both of us being divorced is that we've experienced that. So
yes,
when we help couples through divorce, they I always tell people, if I were to ask you when you're happily married, if it would matter if you had a male or a female real estate agent, you would say it doesn't matter, just as long as they know what they're doing, right?
right.
But the minute I ask you when you're in a divorce situation or an unhappy marriage, does it matter now? And they would say yes. So it really works well because we have to stay together with our communication, but they can communicate with him and she can communicate with me, and we've
That's
just we
amazing.
yeah, it really there's a lot of people too that will not call their past agent because they're ashamed, they're embarrassed,
Yeah.
and they don't want to get their garbage out in front
Right.
of people that they know. They want to preserve some of that, and so that's another big reason why they want a couple. They want
Yeah.
us, right?
I'm so glad to have met you and know where I will send people because you're doing the real estate. but you're doing other things too. And that's why, because that's so in line. I think you talked about, Keith, I think you brought up the 4 pillars.
Right. So our whole business operates under what we call a healthy home scenario, where we believe in the 4 pillars of a healthy home. And the first pillar, of course, is the real estate side of things. You got to have a nice house, safe place to live, in good condition. And then you have to have a good ecosystem inside that house. So we're very conscious about what products you're using, how you're cleaning, how it's maintained, and those types of things. And then you deal with your own physical person. Are you eating correctly? Are you getting
Mhm.
enough rest? How's your exercise and your mobility? Those things are very important to your mental health, which is the fourth pillar, your emotional and your spiritual well-being. And that comes down to talking to people, and your faith, do you meditate? And if those 4 pillars aren't all spoken to and in good shape, the roof is going to fall down. So our business then is a family-based business, and when we deal with households, and however that family's unit or that family structure looks like doesn't much matter, because it's all the same. You've got to have those 4 pillars in place, or there's going to be trouble in that house and in that family. And so we speak on that and teach on that quite regularly.
Well, and Sheila, tell me a little bit about some of the health things that you're doing. I'm really interested in. You've had some events.
Yep. So, you turn into an advocate when something happens to you, typically, right?
Yes.
So, at age 50, my liver started failing. I was lethargic. I missed a few showing appointments because I was trying to nap all day long, and I'm a go-getter. And I blew up like a tire around my stomach, and I didn't do the bonbons. And I always love to say that bless Keith's heart, he met me at 180 pounds and still loved me, right?
I love that.
And so I didn't do it on purpose, right? I know better. And so long short of that, my liver failure was from a toxic chemical overload. And so the body can only take so many chemicals, and then it spreads to whatever organ or whatever weak point yours is. And so at that point of, being really, really sick, laying on the ground, asking God, why is this happening? It was either I could stay on this road I was on, eating the way I was eating with all the chemicals in my home that I'm putting on my body and so forth, or I could, turn the fork, turn the road to a different corner and be there for our 16 grandkids. It wasn't 16 then, it was probably 10 or 12 or whatever, whatever it was,
Right.
but there's
How
16
long
now.
ago was this, Sheila?
8 years ago, because I'm
Okay.
58. And I always say I'm 58 and I feel better than I did in my 30s. And because the body's meant to heal, right? You just have to know how to heal it. So that turned me into this advocate about, my gosh, I didn't know that my cleaning products is like smoking 20 cigarettes a day, and that's the damage it's doing to my lungs. I used to smoke 2 packs a day. There's a reason why I quit, right?
Right.
I didn't know that bleach and the blue dish soap and the laundry soap and the dryer sheets being the number one most toxic thing in the house, because your chemicals are in there. You're drying your clothes, you're sweating in your clothes, you're getting
Yeah.
it in your lymph system. And so it just turned me into this. I didn't know. There's got to be other people that don't know. So the Our Healthy Homes then was born with that. From that. So we love to teach you how to be healthy in your home, because at that point I literally thought I was going to die. And when you don't have your health, what do you have? Right? And
Right.
so it's now, it's more than that. So I have learned a lot through my own health journey, and I love to share that with people. I love
love
to help
that.
people. If I could help you get 25% better, what would that be worth to you? That's what I love to ask people. If I could have some time with you and have you feel 25% better, what would that be worth? Because I could do more, but just think about what
Right.
25%. What is just sleep? How about sleep? I just got a text this morning. I can't sleep. I sleep 3 hours a day. A friend of mine, I was talking to them, and they said, you got to call Sheila because she can help you, right?
So tell me a little bit more about, so you guys are going to tell me how to connect with you, and I'm going to have it in the show notes, but
Okay.
How do those people find you, and what do you have some kind of a tool that can diagnose certain things as well?
Well, I can't diagnose, treat, or prescribe because I'm not, a doctor.
Uh-huh.
We have tools. We have things that help us. I have a group of friends that between us, we can get on a Zoom with somebody because they're not local here, and we can, between all of us, we can ask the right questions to break it down for somebody, for a place to start. For example, a past client of mine, we helped her get her blood sugars down 100 points in a month and a half.
Wow.
It's things like that, right? And so together we're a group of people that just want to help people, and we do have a little tool that. Gives us a little indication of what's your top priority for your body that maybe, could use some love and support. I do Zoom classes. I do in-person classes. Um, a ton of events. Last weekend we made fire cider, right?
Yes,
And then we
yes,
had a
that
couple
is.
make and takes that you could do to make, homemade things that don't have the chemicals in them that are going to bless your body and not tax your body.
So good. Okay. So just tell me, if someone wants to reach out to
Okay.
you about that, where do they go?
Probably the easiest place to go is just go to keithandsheilahitner.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's really the central hub. keithandsheilahitner.com. Go to the link tree. That will give you links out to a number of websites that we have. Our Healthy Homes, Living Beyond Recovery, or real estate searches. Whatever you want or need is on the link tree there, and our YouTube channels and anything that you need for a resource. And then
And
just
I
reach out. It's so easy. Just reach out. Be
Yeah.
happy to have a conversation with you and get you pointed in the right
I
direction.
and
heard
I love
Sheila
to talk.
answers the phone too.
She
Yes, I
actually
do.
answers
I
the
do.
phone.
If I'm not with somebody, I or sleeping, right? Because I'm not going to
Yeah.
answer the phone at 2 in the morning.
Right.
But I love talking to people. So 651-775-9194. I'm
Thank
old
you.
school.
So
Still want
good.
to talk to you.
People need that. People need that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So this has gone so fast. I could talk to you for hours, but
Yes.
as I wind down my
Mhm.
show, I do something that's called the saddle up segment, because
Okay.
I'm in my barn and there's saddles on the other side and
Mhm.
horses and all that good stuff. So I'd like to ask my guests for just one key takeaway tidbit, one thing that maybe our listeners could do right now to help them. Do you have something? I mean, it can be a repeat of something you've said, something that you really want to set in stone that you could share with them.
Well, I would say that that what you need to first do is make a decision that you want to get better. And that's what our living beyond recovery is all about. Is all recovery, all wellness begins from the inside out. Whether you're recovering from a
Mhm.
divorce or you're coming from recovering from an addiction, it doesn't matter. It starts from the inside out. So the best thing that you could do is reach out to Sheila or myself, go to the website and have that initial conversation. And then we can steer you in the right direction. This is a lifelong journey. It is not a quick fix 30-day program or anything like that. This is a changing of your worldview in your life. And it is amazing how well it works.
Yeah.
And I just need to say that if you have what you're going through is in your support staff that you're with is toxic, it's really just so harmful to you and it's not going to move the peg for you. So if you are with that supportive friends, family, whatever that is toxic, that thrives on your what you're
Mhm.
going through and they just keep pushing the buttons, um, it's not helpful.
Yeah, many
Yeah.
people don't want you to
They
recover or get
don't.
better because they want you to be as miserable as they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just makes
Yeah.
you spiral out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we always talk about, have a good friend to talk to, but
Yes,
not one that spirals you out, or a
Yes.
therapist, that talk therapy.
right.
So helpful. Honest to God, I am so thankful to have met both of you. You,
Ditto.
yeah, honestly, and I feel like we're gonna be connected. Like
Mhm.
I wanna talk more. Sheila, I'm coming to one of your events,
Okay.
You got to come
and
out
I'm
to the
bringing my
mansion.
coach. So, and I'll be sending people your way with real estate questions. So it's just been a blessing to me to get to know you, and I'm thankful that we were brought together because you have similar ideas. So, listeners, if you need some help, contact Keela or Sheila and Keith. Hey, Keela.
There
Keela,
you
there
go.
you go.
That's right. That's it. That's it.
Keith and Sheila Hittner. Thanks so much for being here, you guys.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Take care.
You too.